welcome to the Let's Talk with Paula show, where we do a lot of interesting things here. We've had a 13-piece band when I first started. This is the very first show that I had when I came to this particular television station here in Bowie. And so it's been a long time, and I remember a lot of other wonderful people that used to come on this show as well. But you know, we've had everything from field writers, authors, book writers. They the same thing. But you know, people that sing, people that have bands. Hats off to Area 301, and we just had many interesting topics. We had a veteran show before we had any other shows. We did veterans on Let's Talk with Paula as well. And then that was a spinoff that when we started doing Lady Nighthawk, then we started having people like Mr. Attorney Bell that's with us and Mr. Levin who's with us here. And we actually had a veteran show that we had at least almost more, it took up most of our time, didn't it? Because we had a whole little, before COVID, we had about 6 or 7 people that would be sitting here. And people, the ladies, the ladies still today ask me, what happened to all them men you used to have on your show? She said, I'm glad you still hold on to some of them. I said, that ain't had nothing to do with me. That had to do with COVID, and it had to do with the station.
They were looking for Commander Eagle Station.
Yeah, no, they were looking for all of y'all.
Yeah.
She didn't say nobody's name in particular. She said, what happened to all them men that you used to have on your show, okay? So she was looking at all of y'all, okay? And then it dwindled down, and then we got to where it was one. Then we got to where we couldn't broadcast at all, and then when we came back it was still limited, and it's slowly rising in the numbers, because I think the guy told us with the band guy we could have 3, 4, 5 people on the set.
Okay.
So but COVID is still here. Yeah. And I want you guys, because 101 in broadcasting is that you have to introduce your guests, okay, before you start running off on topics. So excuse me. Okay, we'll start with you.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you, Paula, for having me again. My name is Ross Levin. I'm a certified housing counselor and also the executive director of Roots of Mankind. We are a local nonprofit in Prince George's County, and we help seniors, we help veterans, and we help homeowners, as well as non-homeowners doing homeowner education and doing loss mitigation, loan modifications, and assist people in bankruptcy as well.
And you, sir?
Well, thank you for having me back. My name is Donald Bell. I'm an attorney here in Maryland, specifically here in Prince George's County. And I am an attorney. One of the areas that I practice is consumer bankruptcy. But I consider myself to be a consumer advocate and someone who helps clients preserve their wealth through the legal process. So, we do that with by filing bankruptcy cases in many situations to help people get out of debt, and also help them to, sort of keep what they got.
And also, you help them with this, because you always talk about foreclosure as well, because it's about that time with the property taxes given it happened, and a lot of times people lose their homes because of, like you said, the property tax that you've mentioned many times. And the sheriff is one of the people that can come knock on your door.
Well, the sheriff is one of the most powerful elected
I like to talk about
officials,
you, sir.
in the state, particularly here in the county. So, the sheriff has the duties of doing evictions, and the sheriff also has the duties of selling people's properties where there's been some sort of levy that's been attached to the property as a result of like the judicial process. So yes, the sheriff has that authority to execute those type of actions.
And so it's been very important because property taxes, you've gotten your property county tax bill, property tax bill, and you need to take a look at it. If you don't have it in with your mortgage, okay, and you pay it separate, and like you always say that you got people that are older, they've already paid their mortgages off. The only thing that they have to pay is their
property taxes and their insurance.
Okay.
Property insurance.
Property
insurance.
Okay, and so if you're a child that a parent has just expired. You need to look at that county tax bill and talk to one of these guys to find out what you should do, because you might, lose it and not even know that the only thing that you had to pay was the 2 taxes, because the house has been paid off. Okay, so don't sit around trying to figure out what I should do, because you might wait too late. The property taxes are due October they're due by, what did you tell me, October?
Property tax bills for owner-occupied properties come out in September, in August, September, and then in December.
Okay.
So the property tax bills are come due, and then property tax bills, if you don't pay the property taxes, then of course they go to a tax sale. And there is in Maryland a right of redemption for property taxes, only for property taxes, not for foreclosures. And that period is 6 months in Maryland.
Okay.
But it's important for your viewers to know that there is a property tax ombudsman. In fact, they just went ahead and had that position filled.
Oh.
In case people are in tax sale and they're owner-occupied properties, they can reach out, and I believe the person's name is Mr. Robert Yeager.
Okay.
And he can assist them, or of course, they can reach out to me directly or to Attorney Bell to go ahead and get assistance with that.
I will say, also, I would really reach out to a housing counselor if you're having issues with your property taxes, because some of your listeners are disabled veterans. And if you are a 100% disabled veteran, there's a possibility that you may not even have to pay property taxes.
That's correct, Mr. Bell. I'm glad you brought that up.
There are situations when you're a senior and you're limited income, and you can get the homestead credit, which is what we talked about, and the income.
There's
homeowner's
actually there's the homeowner's tax credit based upon income in the state of Maryland, and then there's of course the homestead tax credit. But I totally had forgot about, in Prince George's County, as a matter of fact, there's a senior, an elderly tax credit as well.
What is it? How old you have to be an elderly tax credit? I might not be that old.
That's what they say. Age is just age, as you know, is just a number, and mine is unlisted, right? But Paul, if you're interested, or anyone's interested in the Prince George's County elderly tax credit, I'm happy to go ahead and assist them. You can reach me at 301-899-6800, or you can email me at Ross, that's ROSS, at ROMKIND.org. And Paula, of course, I know you know how to get in contact with me.
Of course.
You've got my direct dial on speed dial, right?
Yeah, on speed dial.
All right.
That's right.
But there is a elderly tax credit, and it's important. It's easy to apply for. I've assisted many Prince George's County residents apply for it. It's one piece of paper. Fill it out. You can mail it in, and for those people that don't use computers, mail it in, or for those who do, you can send it by email. Very simple. Doesn't take very long at all to do it, and it's something that every senior in Prince George's County should apply for to see if they're eligible for it, because you never know what you're going to get unless you apply for it.
That is true. And even if you don't qualify, like with the HALF program, still apply, okay? And the homestead, I'd like to say that Mark had introduced me to the Homestead Act. I didn't know how, I was young, didn't know how important it was, but he told me that at that time, and he would have helped me at that time. But I said, oh, I'll get it done, right? Many, many, many years later, now I filed for it. You understand what I'm saying? And I had to get you to assist me.
There's no age
and it did come through. But I mean, he told me about it when I first started working at the studio. You understand?
Right.
And I just didn't know any better. You know, and maybe I was in denial because I thought it had something to do with your age, right?
Wow.
But it didn't. Okay.
Yeah.
But that's what I thought. Okay.
Right.
So that's why I didn't, pursue it. But I'm sorry that I did not.
Oh, and I'm going to say, you got to use these tools. You got to use, these tools to assist you in doing what's necessary to keep your home. If you're working and you're making the money and you can afford to pay your property taxes, you can afford to pay your mortgage, then great, do that. But if you're in a situation where you're struggling financially and you have access to these type tools because you're a homeowner, you have access to these programs, you need to look into them.
Right.
Don't lose your home because you were too prideful and you didn't want to take advantage of some of these programs.
No, I just thought I wasn't old enough. Okay.
Well, I'm just talking
'Cause
to
I
the
didn't
people.
look. I know you're talking to them, but I'm just saying I did not investigate it enough. Somebody did tell me about it. I didn't investigate it enough to, take advantage of it because I just thought it was something for somebody that was older than I was at the time. But that was not the case.
Well, the homeowner's tax credit, the homeowners, is based upon income. Okay. Now, the homestead tax credit, which I believe is what you're talking about.
That's the one I'm talking
You
about.
can go, someone who owns a house, you have to own it for a year. Okay, and then you can apply for it. And what that does is that helps a homeowner when values do go up, okay, that it will only go up by a certain percentage so that your property taxes don't go through the roof and go way up. And that's really what the homestead tax credit is.
Which is an issue here in Prince George's County, because Prince George's County, particularly Bowie, is a very desirable area to live in. So because it's a very desirable area to live in, inventory, meaning properties that are for sale, that inventory is at a historic low. So what does that mean? That means that the houses that are out there for sale, people are going to pay more money for it. So property taxes are based upon the value, based upon
The assessment that they made.
The
the
assessment.
value of properties that are selling in that area. And Maryland doesn't do it on a year-by-year basis. They do an average of 3 years. So,
Based on assessment, right?
so what happens is, if a house that was selling for $300,000 on your neighborhood, as an example, now all of a sudden, because there's little to no inventory, that house is selling for $500,000. Now, other properties in that area, well, people will pay $500,000 for those houses. So guess what's going to happen to the property taxes? It's going to be based upon that $500,000
Right.
assessment. But what Maryland does is say, okay, we're not just going to take that $500,000. We're going to look at what property sold for over the last 3 years, and we're going to average it out. But that $500,000 is still going to increase.
Oh, it did that because my property tax, it jumped.
Yeah.
Okay, I was surprised that it went up as high as it did for this year. When I got my income tax
But
bill.
that's one of the issues in living in a place like Bowie,
Bowie.
versus if you maybe go out to like the Eastern Shore, you go out to Western Maryland, where maybe not as many people want to live there, and property values aren't going up as steeply as they are here in Prince George's County.
Okay, but then here, let's go back and talk about what we talked about earlier. Okay, so my mortgage, using me as an example, and I'm happy, it's gonna max out at 3.68%. That's the cap on it.
The interest rate.
The interest rate on it.
Yeah.
Which means a lot. The interest rate is all about what you're gonna pay per month.
Yeah.
Okay, so which was very important.
Yeah.
Because by them being high now at 7%, I mean, it's 3 times the amount of what mine is now.
Yeah.
Okay, so now let's say that because I know that the property taxes went up extensively high, okay, and I decide that I want to move out to one of these places you mentioned, okay, but then when I move out to one of these places, then my interest rate's going to be high.
If you buy something, you're going to be paying market rate.
Yeah, so
Right,
that's
you're
going
gonna
to
be
be
paying
high.
market rate, but the thing is that with we were talking about these property taxes, as they have their phased-in assessments. But a homeowner always can go ahead and has the right to do a property tax appeal, to appeal their property taxes if they don't believe the value of their assessment of what the county is assessing it at. is what their value, what the property actually is. But the mortgage payment we were just talking about, as far as if the interest rates go up, which they are now, there's at an all-time, I believe, a 21 or 22-year high, 7+%. The thing is that a mortgage payment really, if you have your property taxes and your homeowner's insurance and perhaps mortgage insurance in your payment, the payment really is comprised of the principal and interest, which is the interest rate, and then of course you've got property taxes, homeowner's insurance, and possibly mortgage insurance if you have an FHA loan, and you put down less than a certain percentage, whether you're first time or not.
Sometimes people have FHA insurance, and they
Right.
pay in
Monthly.
addition to their principal, interest, taxes, and insurance.
Right.
They may have like FHA homeowners insurance as well.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, because all my insurances, which I recommend, because it's easy if you can't budget like you're supposed
Right.
to have it all
But-
encompassed in,
Right.
in the mortgage itself, because you know what that is every month.
But you know what that is, but
Yeah.
there's a way with your interest rate, you had said at 3.68 or 3.6%, that's a fixed rate. But your mortgage payment, you may be able to go ahead and get that reduced if you do an escrow analysis, which is important for every person that owns a home, every property owner to do once a year, to go ahead and look at your property, and you can do this free of charge. You can call your mortgage company and ask them, they're required by law as well, to go ahead and do an escrow analysis. And then you can also go ahead and shop freely for your own homeowner's insurance. And there's, of course, different homeowners insurance companies around that you can go, and every rate may be different. So that affects a housing payment as well. So your payment, although your fixed interest rate may be a certain amount, which it is, the escrow portion of it could you may be able to get it reduced, or say, God forbid, you have a fire or a claim, the insurance may go up, the payment may go up. But there are different ways to go ahead and learn about how the housing payment works, and it's important for your viewers to know that there are housing counselors out there, such as myself and others, that can go ahead and give them the information they need in order for them to make a decision for themselves versus having one made for them.
And that's very important, because you don't know. Like I said, I mean, at the time when somebody was giving me good advice, I didn't jump on it because I thought, and I didn't investigate. I didn't know you guys, okay? And so that's why I always felt it's so important, and the veterans as well. It's so important that we give this information out to people, because there are people out there that don't know. There are young people that they don't have people that they can talk to, but they do watch this show. I mean, even though they watched all you men come on the show, you tell me that the people that come in your office, they ask about, and I've had people say to me, oh, I was watching because I was trying to see what wig you was going to have on this week, right? And it was even one of y'all suggested, oh, you ought to have a weekly thing where people can, the week before, guess what wig you want to wear next week, okay? I can't give you anything, okay? But that would be kind of interesting, okay?
Yeah.
Because they do. They say, I watch your stuff because, oh, I know you with mask on, right? I know you from your wig, right, in your voice, okay? So, yeah, I thought that was unique. Okay, thank you guys. But it's people that watch this show, and they watch this show for the information that we provide, and we provided information every step of the way. We Zoomed, Skyped, not Zoom. We Skyped, and we did everything, and we are trying to tell you. And I want to say this: COVID has never gone away, because COVID is a respiratory illness. Okay. So we notice that we see all these commercials on television now that talk about COPD, you know, and all these other respiratory kind of ailments that they have out there, they even stopped thinking, I think they even stopped naming COVID, you know, from this variant to another one. So now they're publicizing to you guys about, oh, if you got asthma, you know, make sure you get your pneumonia, or your flu shot, okay? And now they're asking you to take another COVID test. But COVID's never really gone because it's a respiratory problem. And it's been people that throughout the whole process, even when they stopped advertising about COVID, that I know a 22-year-old that just passed away, and they said that she died of pneumonia. Her mother said she had COVID, okay? So, you know, we're not really being very honest about what's going on out here. And people are, you know, they're used to having their freedom without wearing a mask. We're separated from each other. We wear masks when we're around other people in the businesses that we do. But we need to still be extra careful because now is the season that you don't know whether or not you have the flu, whether you have pneumonia, or whether you have COVID.
And also small kids have gone back.
And they're going back to school.
Right.
Yep.
And that's a breeding ground.
Yes, and riding the school buses.
Yes.
Okay. So those COVID tests, I want to say to you, that you have at home, that you might have gotten from the library, or you bought them last year, or you got them 2 years ago, you need to look at the expiration date because no one has ever, except for us, I'm talking about personally, have said on the air, that you need to look at the expiration date on your COVID kits, okay?
Right.
I can't preach that enough. Because if you got COVID kits you got 2 years ago, they probably expired a year ago, okay? So if you got old COVID kits laying around your house and you think that you're gonna use that to take a test to see if you got COVID, not. Throw them in the trash, okay? So look at all, even when you buy them and you go in the store and it's sitting on a shelf, look at the expiration date on the COVID test. I don't care who makes it, who is by. I don't have any stock in any else company, but I do have an investment as you as my viewer. So I'm asking you to take on that responsibility to make sure that the COVID tests that you buy are not expired. The ones that you have in your home, look at the expiration date. If they have expired, throw them in the trash because you're not going to get a true reading on whether or not you have COVID. Now, this is what I also want to say, and then I'm going to move on from this topic, is that you guys that are out there that know you have COVID, right, because you've had a COVID test, and then they give you medicine to take, but you're still walking around with your mask off. You're not doing nothing but making a breeding ground for now this winter when it comes along. Okay, for everybody. So I'm asking you, if you know that you have COVID, you've been tested, or you tested yourself at home, and the doctors tested you and give you medication to get rid of it, you have not taken the medication yet, you know, probably because you just found out. So put a mask on. There's nothing wrong with wearing a mask. Now, if you're in a place and you're not around anybody else, you can take your mask down. But if you're with a group of people, you need to wear a mask because this is. Yeah, and stay home until you get well. Absolutely, and then you're gonna go in your house and spread it to all the little kids or the big kids, and then they're gonna take it back out and take it back to school. Okay, so look, COVID is not—it's just not being called COVID. Okay, we don't even know what it's called now. Okay, but it is a respiratory problem, and those of us that have asthma, bronchitis, you know, that have had pneumonia once or twice, it is very, or have diabetes, okay? You need to really take precautions of this season that we're getting ready to embrace ourselves upon because we don't know unless you go to the doctors or you have a COVID test. And they run out in stores, okay? Because I've looked for them at different stores. And they might have them one week and they don't have any the next week, okay? So also be mindful that there are other people that need those tests. So because they might have 50 on the shelf, please don't go in and buy 50, okay? Because you got other people that need to buy tests as well. You might be able to afford to buy 50. Okay, but I'm saying to you, just be mindful that there are other people just like you're looking for these tests, they're looking for them as well. Just like you have children that need to be tested, they have children that have to be tested as well. So, you know, just be mindful of that, that's all. Because, you know, we become hoarders when things get shortages. I mean, it just, and that's not something new, and that's not just with COVID tests. But we start stacking up on stuff, you know what I mean?
Right.
And the stuff winds up spoiling or expiring in your pantry. You know what I
Yep.
mean? Because you bought too much, and somebody else that was looking for it can't find it. That's all I'm saying is just be mindful of whatever it is that you buy. Be mindful of the amount. That's why they had to put limitations on everybody. Remember during COVID?
I remember.
They told you that you could only buy 1 or 2 of certain things, or you could only buy 3 of things, because they knew that people were out there buying humongous amount of stuff that they probably weren't going to use. And I take my hat off to those people that buy stuff for their relatives that lives in other countries. But we also got to take care of us that are living in this country as well, you know. So I'm not telling you not to do that. I'm just saying that be mindful that people that live here in the United States as well need to make sure that they have those resources, you know, those food and those products as well. Okay, that's all I got to say about that. COVID is never gone. It is still here. It's just called something else. If you have any kind of, you know, your system, your immune system is not up to what it's supposed to be, please take precautions. Please go out, because the masks are going to start disappearing off the shelves, okay, like they did last year, right? Because, and then so, don't go out and hoard those either, but go buy yourself a box, okay? So you can have them, and you can put them in your car, put them in your purse, put them somewhere, so that when you go amongst a crowd of people, you know, you are protecting yourself as well as others. And I'm sorry, I didn't mean to go on the preaching road, but that's something that's been on my mind for a minute. So anyway, guys, what's something else that y'all had? Because we got 2 minutes.
I can't stress enough that your homeowners really should know about resources that are available. There's all sorts of free resources. We just went through some of them with the property taxes. We just went through some of them on how to save money with your escrow. But there's all sorts of resources. And also we talked that we need to end on the colleges, right?
Right, that just came across my mind. That's right. Starting on the 4th, it was we are celebrating historically black colleges. So, and they're having a conference
in Alexandria. Right.
In Arlington. I think it starts September 24th.
Okay.
Department of Education is throwing the HBCU Week conference in Arlington, where I guess they're going to talk about different resources and things of that nature that are available, because you know the HBCUs are struggling financially, but
Always
they're so
have.
relevant in our community,
Right.
because they provide us with those college graduates who go out and become leaders in our community. So we need to do what we can to support those schools.
And that stands for historically black colleges and universities, okay? So, you know, that's what we're talking about. And it started, you know, this week on Labor Day. And so if you can make it out there to Arlington, is that what we said, Arlington? You know, to get some valid, important information, especially if you have a young one that's going to college, okay? You need to go over there and find out what resources are available to your students that are, even private school, okay? What resources are out there available for them as well. Because we need to try to keep those schools going, because we have some very historical people that have come out those colleges that have had very, very, you know, high positions in our country, okay? In fact, our Vice President of the United States went to a historically black college, which was Howard University. So, you know, we can see that they are valuable to us as a people, and that, you know, who would ever think that a woman, and a black woman, would be the Vice President of the United States, and she's from a historically black college. And with that, we're gonna say good night.
Good night.
Good night.